And we're live. Welcome everyone to another monthly webinar here with Wonks. Today we'll be talking about the value of structured data. And before we kick off,
I will share my screen for you there, Josh.
yes,
Always helpful to have some content to give the punters.
there we go. For your eyes, for your visuals. The value of structured data and essential SEO for your website, plus the Google API SEO leak. Before we kick off, we are recording this webinar. So if you are not here today or you plan on viewing it again, we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. So you will be able to see it there. Share it with your friends and family.
It goes to Twitter. It goes to Facebook.
Twitter.
It goes to our website. It goes to anywhere. Probably it's going to be hosted in cinemas around the country. That's how popular these webinars have been of late.
Just closing that deal.
So free, of course. You don't have to buy those tickets. Geez, they're getting expensive out there. Inflation and all that.
Exactly. So you can't miss it. And we encourage all of you to engage with us throughout the presentation as well. If you do have a question, feel free to pop it in on the right-hand side in the chat, and we will be monitoring that throughout. We will go over any questions or anything you have to say at the end of the presentation. Remember, there is no such thing as a silly question. You know, if you have it and you think it, maybe some others will think it as well. Pop it in there. We're all here to learn regardless, so don't be shy. Let's move on to our introduction, shall we? So today with us we have Mr. Nick Rising, our sales director here at Wonks.
Hi, everybody.
We have myself, Joshua Biddle, the business development manager here at Wonks, and our founder, the CEO, Mr. Jeff McGregor, who will be our presenter today as well.
Howdy.
So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I know you probably don't want me to point this out, but he's just freshly shaved, looking very handsome. Our young Josh, about to go over
very naked
to the UK and have a bit of time off. We've actually, and I probably shouldn't do this to one of our staff as well. Mindy just got married in Bali last week, and congratulations to her. A wonderful asset to our team. A number of team members went over and celebrated that milestone. So yes, we can talk about structured data and Google and all those things, but it's also really important to acknowledge the wonderful celebrations and moments in life. But without further ado, let's get stuck into today's topic. We've gone over some housekeeping there, so I won't go through that again for you, Josh. And then we'll get straight into what we're going to cover. So first and foremost, thank you to everyone for taking the time to attend this, or if you're watching this after action, appreciate you taking the time. So what will we cover today? Well, first and foremost, what is structured data and what does it do for your website? What are the benefits of structured data? What is essential SEO? Understanding essential SEO and how it helps with your audience, and then essential SEO supporting credibility, trustworthiness, and how it complements other digital marketing efforts. And if you did hear our radio ads in the last couple of weeks, you'll also know that there was a Google SEO leak, which has been confirmed as true by Google, and it has some very interesting information that has come from it. So we'll get to that at the end. First and foremost, though, what is structured data and schema? It's all about facts, not bias. So structured data is a standardized format that humans and computers can make use of. It is premised on facts, not opinion, to record a type of data. So for most web pages on the internet, you've written how amazing you are. And let's say that you say that your products are amazing and another company says that their products are amazing. How does Google tell the difference between you and they and the subjectivity of you saying that you're better than someone else? Well, it does that through factual information. And so the structured data is you saying, here is the piece of information. That might be a logo. It might be the product price. It might be the rating of a product. And then from there, Google uses schema to then show that information as a hard and immutable fact, as opposed to just words of me saying I'm great and body text, which has relevance in the index. But when it is clear structured dimensions, or weight. These are things that are fixed facts that Google and other platforms really like you to use. So tagging your web content, your HTML web page content with the particular uh, type of information is super critical. And it's really now going to accelerate in the world of AI, because how does AI take your information and then show it to users? Well, it is doing that through facts, and it's more likely to value a fact through structured data than it will a subjective piece of content that has been written. So structured data is the information, while schema is the language computers use to access the information. So here's an example. For some of the attendees today, the code might be overwhelming. This is an example of an HTML page. Quite standard. And what you'll see is that it will have headings, and in between the tags, say, for example, the title tags, the content is party, coffee, cake. And then the name is party, coffee, cake. And then it has where the images are held. It has the author. And I'm going to come back to authorship later on, because a part of that Google leak, it was really stressing that authorship is a big ranking indicator. And it's something that a lot of article writers and blog writers neglect to add in, that they're the author. I'll come back to that. The date that it's published, description, and then it goes on to show some example information about the cooking time. I'll show this in a live example in a moment. Then you can see that you can test the actual page itself to see if you have it. So if we just exit this one here, the link will be available in the YouTube description. If you do want to go to the URL now and test this on your own website, I do recommend that. It's really quite simple. You're just going to, you can search for schema markup testing tool. It'll probably be the first link. And then it's developers.google.com, and that is the full URL. And then you can test for the rich results test, and you can see the schema markup validator. The validator is more so for the developer, but if you are a weekend website builder and you are building your own web pages, then it is a really good way of just testing to make sure that you've got that content correct. So I'm just going to do a test online, and you'll see in the wild how schema is used. So I'm going to search for ice cream sundae. And what I'm going to get here is a number of recipes. So I'm going to choose the Nadia Lim recipe, local New Zealand chef, and go through to this particular page. When I do so, I'm going to be able to look into the source code. And so if you ever wanted to look, probably not, after a few wines, you may wish to take a look at what the source code of your website looks like. You can right click toward the edge of the page and then click page source, and it will show you very similar to what we're seeing here as the example. This is how the back end of websites look. So this is how we humans look at it, and this is how the computer looks at it. So we're contending with two different elements when writing content, when building our websites. We want, obviously, first and foremost, the human to understand and read and obviously be indexed, and your recipe, your product, your video, your FAQ to be seen higher than the others, your AI overview, I'll get to that. And then how is the computer going to see it? How is the computer going to rank you? Well, it's the way that it's done here. So if we take this URL, we can pop it into the test. And again, I recommend, if you go to the schema markup page, go to the rich results test. You can do this with your own web page. Type that in, probably just copy and paste your URL, and then test the URL. And just while it's doing that, I'll do the same on the markup on the schema, so we can see if there's any errors on this page. I mean, it may have one or two, but it's obviously doing quite well, because otherwise we wouldn't have seen it rank in that top position. So what we see here is, again, very similar to what it's detecting as the example. And so we can see that this page is very new. So only this year has it been indexed, which is great. And we can see a little bit more information there. So that's fantastic. We can see that it has a variety of structured data on this page. So it's an article, breadcrumb, but it's recipes that we really want to look at, because that is the markup that it's been ranked for. And there are 8 non-critical issues. So it's missing a few of the fields. Not obviously a problem, because we're still ranking there. It is best practice to make sure that you get these things right. And it does have a few things. So there's obviously a video here. There's no aggregate rating from this recipe. There's no recipe cuisine. I guess you could call this dessert, might be where it's at. But what we do see here is that the author is Nadia Lim, and it's a person, and we can see that she has actually an ID. This information is really critical, especially if you are an individual who's looking to build your own authority. If you're looking to be a market leader, an authority in your industry, you want to be the author of the content that's being put onto the site. So obviously Nadia Lim has a really good public profile. Whether or not she actually wrote this recipe page, I don't know. But certainly from the webmaster's perspective, they are promoting Nadia. So if your web content and staff, whomever you're getting to do the content for you, is writing on your behalf, you want to be the person that is being put up in lights, not them. Even though they might have authored it, what we're trying to do is promote you, promote your business. And we can go through and we can see there's other details in here. So there's, you can see that it was originally published in 2019. It's been republished. And that, again, is something that I'll touch on toward the end of the conversation when we get to the Google leak. But then we've got some, again, what I'm talking about with those immutable facts. It will give us 4 Sundays. It's a 5-minute prep time. It's a 10-minute cook time. These things are all facts that need to be understood. And that's why Google likes it, because it's not just me writing the content on the page. I've actually tagged the content on the page, as we can see, in the markup validator. So we'll see here, all this has been tagged. And then again, this is the same sort of content. So this is where we would see that there might be any errors. And then obviously we saw that here as well. So this is what was missing. So then we've got the how-to steps, so on and so forth. Now, if I was to do the same for an FAQ, so let's maybe go something topical. So how to keep a power pylon upright. Maybe. Yes, we have some FAQs here. What is the safe distance from power pylon New Zealand? Well, let's go through to this. Oops, that's actually going to be a PDF, so I don't want that one. Let's go to this Wikipedia one. So this is fine. So if we grab this, maybe someone at the company last week could have made use of this particular page. Not 100% sure if this is actually going to do. I'm doing this live. Just go back and refresh this. What I'm looking for this time is the FAQ. So this here is where a lot of people also ask PAA. This is another area. When you've got FAQs on your site, how much does it cost? How long does it take? Those sorts of questions are often a driving question for service industry requests, for legal requests or accounting, or if you're building something. That's what people want to know. So that's why people also ask. Google is offering these other pieces of content, and it's doing that because it's got FAQ markup. Oh, it's not letting me do that one because it's got other details. So I'll go this one here. This will look like a proper URL, I think. This one here. It's giving me some funny details. So if this doesn't work, I'll continue with the webinar and I can show you afterwards if you're so inclined. But what I'm really wanting to show now, it's not letting me because it's got some strange extra information in here. Just see if this works. That does. It's giving me some extra information that I didn't want in that URL. Let's try this one last time for the FAQ aspects. While we're waiting for that to do it, let's go through and have a look at the benefits. So most websites on the internet only contain basic structured data. This can result in search engines not being able to correctly understand the content on your website. So most people will have, so the default content management systems, WordPress, Shopify, Wix, BigCommerce, Magento, by default, your website will have basic structured data. So the name of your business, when the website is first created, the name is put in. The logo for the homepage is nominally also added. So the default details, sometimes maybe the contact details of your site. So the address, the phone number, sometimes that can be indexed, but not normally. Obviously, those are key pieces of detail that you want Google to find you on, and you don't want to just do the basics. So structured data from a perspective of SEO is not something that is often done. Now, it's telling me that my network is a little bit laggy. Gentlemen who are in the call, can you hear me fine? Yep, just making sure. So from a SEO perspective, structured data is not often done. People will recommend articles are written. They'll recommend that new content is written. They'll recommend that the essential SEO from the meta titles and meta tags are done. But actually coding the HTML is overlooked. And we as a company, Wonks as a company, has really stressed that this is something that you should be doing. When SEO first came about, it was an open playing field, green grass. You could basically keyword stuff a website. And then Google came along and said people are gaming the system, and they put up a white picket fence. And you had to add title tags and do a little bit more work. And then they realized people were gaming that system. So they put up a big fence you couldn't really look through, and you had to do extra work. And each time this happened, if you were serious about your SEO, Google would treat you as someone who they will rank, and they were asking for certain things to do. Well, structured data is really at the top in terms of how your content is being displayed. And that's why it's overlooked, because it isn't straightforward and it can be difficult to complete in the first instance. But if you're a larger business and spending a lot of money on, well, even if it's a smaller business, but larger businesses who are spending a lot of money on SEO, if you haven't completed structured data, you're just doing the same stuff over and over and over again, and you're not going to get the same valid results. And critically, it is the way that Google and the other AI platforms like OpenAI will rank and index your content. It's looking for facts. So let's go back and see if it's giving me that. It has. Not giving me the best. So I'll just leave this for now. And later I will, after the video is up, I might just append a little bit at the end of the video to show what the FAQs would look like. It really doesn't matter. It's just about making sure that you're tagging it correctly, just as it would be for a recipe or for anything else. As you'll see here, the types of structured data that Google indexes via snippets. We've got reviews, we've got videos. And so you might have a video on your web page, but if it isn't tagged as a video and doesn't have the description tagged with the video, Google won't show it on the search engine. It might show it within YouTube, but it's not going to show on the search engine. And also, if it isn't a YouTube video and it's using the inbuilt player on your site, Vimeo, for example, it definitely wouldn't show up unless you've tagged it as a video. Here's the title, here's the description. FAQs, recipes, and business details, location, and logo. And you'll see that here for larger businesses, larger retailers, larger corporate entities, absolutely should be making sure that the markup and the schema, the structured data on their websites are done correctly. And if you're a smaller business, it's something that you can get an edge over your competitors because they're likely to be focused on that relatively white picket fence type SEO, which is the essential part, which I'll touch on in a moment, but you need to go to that next level. So you'll see with Xero here, their logo, they probably need to index the logo again. It's obviously gone to a file where the logo is really small. What's that, 40 by 40 pixels? So if they want to make that the standard sort of 250 by 250, it'd probably be larger there. Nevertheless, it's got the domain, it's got some content, and obviously because this is a larger business, it has a stock price. That one there is probably being pulled in by default because it's a nationally listed business. But then you can see some other details around that. So that's how you will have seen this type of listing when you browse the internet. It's not always a given that this content will be shown, and I have to be clear about that. Just because you've gone to the extent of tagging your content with structured data doesn't mean the schema is going to show up in every search result. It just means that you're more likely to if the result is the most relevant to what that individual user is searching for. So some of you may have seen the AI overviews. I mentioned this in my CEO memo at the end of May, and the sort of the disaster of the rollout that Google had in the United States, where the results were not correct and were providing a detail that just is not where the quality of Google has been historically. And you've got to remember that as an advertising business, the whole premise of Google is show relevant results. Users will keep coming back, and then advertisers will want to advertise because there is a user base. The moment that you start providing irrelevant results is the moment that you bleed off your users and ergo bleed off your advertisers, and the business model is sunk. Google recognized that this was a problem for them, and they reduced the number of individuals who were seeing AI overviews to about 5 to 10%. Now, in New Zealand, we are used as a test bed for a lot of the tools that big tech companies use. We're a highly mobile, highly intelligent, and highly technically savvy population. And because of that, we consume technology at a higher rate. And so we're a really good sort of subset of the world to test these things on. And so this, what our Google AI overview search that I did this last night, and it showed me an AI overview. So in New Zealand, we're clearly now getting AI overviews. It did used to be called Search Labs, and that's why you're seeing this aspect here, because this means that it is still in trial. But here's the key difference. Unlike the 10 blue links that you may all be aware of as being the traditional layout for Google, AI Overviews has 3 tiles. And underneath these tiles, I didn't have enough to screenshot, but underneath these tiles is further content about these 3 tiles. So we've gone from 10 blue links to 3 tiles. Well, that means that there's that much more competition that's going to be required to be in these AI overview slots. And if there is a clear direction toward providing AI generated answers for individuals, this means it's even more important for your structured data to be in place. So we talk about essential SEO. What is essential SEO, and really how can you do it? Now, for most businesses, the websites, the content management systems will generate the essential SEO for you. It will take whatever content is on the page and dump it into the meta description on your behalf so that there is a meta description. However, we do recommend that you actually go and page by page, and the way you can choose which page to work on first is very much around the analytics. So go into the analytics. What are the top 5 pages? Do them first, then move on to the next 5, and so on and so forth. But what you want to make sure of is You've got the correct meta titles. So your meta title, WebWonks, welcome to WebWonks Doctors for Your Data. Description, some meta description, WebWonks is proud to offer world-leading digital marketing solutions. We've got the title is replicated. Further down, we'll have H tags for the detail that we want. So what is an H tag? Is a header tag, and it should indicate you've got H1 through 5, H6. As the page goes down, you should use a descending header tag. So H1 tag indicates this is the most important content, whereas an H3 tag might be paragraph content, right? It might be a smaller subset. It depends on how your web developer has produced the H tags, because they can code it to be larger, smaller, color, all that sort of detail. But you should use H tags to indicate to Google the following content, if it's H1, is the most important content on this page. If you're using an H3 tag, it's less relevant. You should still use H tags correctly. Alt tags are used for logos and images, so that when you do an image search, if you've got a cute puppy, you're going to have the alt text saying cute puppy. Or if you are selling NVIDIA graphics cards, you're going to write NVIDIA graphic card and then whatever the product name is, so that if someone's searching for that, then it's going to be found. Then, of course, you've got your body text, and all of that should be in alignment. So, and on this page, we're talking about WebWonks. The description is WebWonks. The H tag will say WebWonks. The alt tag for our logo will say WebWonks. The body text will talk about WebWonks. If you are selling, I don't know, stapler, I have a stapler on my desk for whatever reason. Who sells this? Taurus. If you're selling a beige stapler, it should say beige stapler, not stapler generally, right? Because you might sell red staplers, or you might sell blue staplers. So you want to have the detail of the meta description, blue stapler, meta description. We are the stockist of the brightest blue staplers. H tag, blue staplers here. Alt tags, here is a blue stapler. Body text, blue staplers, they're the ones the cool kids use, none of that beige stuff. And so the same alignment, the same phrasing, it has to be the same. You can't have in your meta description staplers, and then the meta description, we carry a range of colored staplers, and then H tags, get your paper connecting thingy, and then in the alt tags, ignore it, and then in the body text, say we have beige and green staplers, because as far as Google's concerned, it's a word salad. It's a whole bunch of word vomit on the page, where if it's all blue stapler, blue stapler, blue stapler, blue stapler, when someone goes and searches for blue staplers on Google, Google's going to go through the index and go, oh, here's a web page that has blue staplers. That's the essential part. Obviously, what you then want to go and do for your product page is tag with the structured data. The stapler weighs, I don't know, 40 grams, 50 grams. It will punch through X amount. You use Y staples for it, however it needs to go, right? So that's the kind of content that you would put into your structured data. Understanding SEO and understanding your audience. Well, I won't go too far into Search Console today. I have touched on Search Console in a previous webinar we did earlier this year, and I do recommend that you go and have a look at that, because I go into more so queries and impressions and clicks and detail around that. What I wanted to highlight today in your Search Console product is that increasingly you're going to use the product snippets. You're going to use Search Console for your AI overview content and indexing. And so if you were not otherwise using Search Console, you absolutely need to be looking at it now. Search Console has been a product that's been around for maybe coming up on 20 years. I can't exactly tell you how long it's been around for, but a very, very long time. And it was in maybe 2020, 2021, completely overhauled. New interface, new engine behind it. And obviously that is driven toward the scope of how you're going to be able to implement your AI overview information. And I'm pretty sure, no, I did see something somewhere. If I go, get my spelling right. Yeah, so in this information here, I might actually have put it later into the slides, but you'll see that in the same area that we're looking at before, the developers.google, and talking about AI overviews in your website, it's all contained within that search console sort of elements. Similarly, where it's got site names, site links, snippets, structured data, title links, all of this is in the same family of SEO aspects that you as a marketer, you as a search engine practitioner should be aware of, should be working toward. That is where the good oil is. And so you'll see that it's asking for information around that. I do encourage you to go through and have a look a bit further. There's very early days for AI overviews. As I was showing before, it is in the search labs phase. And so it has been released in drips and drabs as to how Google is going to really index it. But keeping an eye on the Google Search Central documentation is where you're going to find a lot of that information. You can see it's under ranking and search appearance here, very much what we're talking about. So yeah, essential SEO, getting the basics right. Before you look at structured data for your website, make sure you have the basics in place first. Make sure that you've done your title tags and that they match the meta descriptions, the H tags, the alt tags, and the body text, and get the site, get the fundamentals right, especially the title and meta descriptions. Because when you share a link online, on Facebook, on Google, on LinkedIn, wherever you paste that link, often it will dynamically show the title, the URL path, and it will show the description. And so you want to make sure that that's not just default. You want to put your own detail in there. So I highly recommend that you're doing that too. So before I move on to the Google leak, I will just check to see if anyone has any questions. You can ask the questions in the Q&A or the chat regarding if you have any questions about SEO. Of course, I'm covering off some pretty dense stuff here. I understand that. So if you do have questions and you want to have a deeper discussion with myself or the team after this, or if you're watching this after it's gone out, by all means, please go to the website, www.webwonks.com, and ask for us to get in touch, and we can go through how it's going to work for your website. But I definitely believe the AI overview piece is a great blue sky, open space for your business to take some real action around. It is one of the greatest changes to the search engine landscapes that has ever occurred. And critically, if you match that structured data piece, it's going to set your business up for the world of AI, not just for Google. And I think that this is where we start to move into where Google is going to find itself in a wee bit of trouble. So I mentioned how there were issues around the way that the AI overviews were running in the United States. I did hear, read an article that said that Google is actually manually removing incorrect answers in the index. Well, that is like trying to find, a speck of dust on a beach. It's just impossible to do. The results are dynamic. Billions of queries are happening every day. So I don't know how they perceive to do that. But what it is doing is it is undermining the trust and integrity that individuals have in Google when they go to the search engine. And so this is something that will end up in a fractured area, but is where OpenAI has an opportunity to begin its long ascent to being the number one, I guess, online directory and depository of information, because the Apple Intelligence feature that is being rolled out later this year in the latest iOS update is using OpenAI. And so if all of a sudden on your phone you've got OpenAI and Windows machines have co-pilots baked into them, again using OpenAI, and Bing is using OpenAI, and people begin to become more accustomed to using OpenAI and co-pilots and ChatGPT that are run by OpenAI, it doesn't take much of a stretch to begin to see that perhaps people who are looking for information are going to then go to OpenAI. OpenAI has just gone from a not-for-profit business to a for-profit business. Well, if I was a betting man, I'd suggest that they're about to become an advertising platform as well, because why wouldn't you advertise if you've got more people coming in and using ChatGPT to find out information? Why wouldn't you advertise there and get to that market? But because, and there are issues, of course, with the way that OpenAI effectively stole all of the information or taught its models by scraping, I don't know, copyrighted material, Twitter, anything it could get its hands on to learn from, it will still have a lot of opportunity for you, because it'll be indexing your site, right? And you want that structured data to be there and present so that your content's what's being indexed. So that's one part of the sort of the, maybe not a death rattle. I'd never write off Google. I've been in the game a long time, and I can tell you now that Google is a fighter, and they will certainly not give up the mantle. But they're being eroded at that level. And then we have the SEO leak. So Irfan Azimi, the man who found it, sort of kudos to you, my friend. It was an accident. And what happened, so the story goes, is that someone released the algorithm to a GitHub repository. It was through an API connection. For those that don't know, GitHub has a series of libraries on it. It's where you build your code base. And so if there is a public repository, people can borrow or use that code base, and they can build, dummy apps or dummy web pages or applications of any description, right? There was a third-party indexing and reporting tool, notation tool, that saw the repository, just automatically indexed and published what it had on that repository. And then the cat was out of the bag. The algorithm was available for all to see. Now, it's pretty dense stuff, but it did come with it a treasure trove of information that is really going to allow marketers and webmasters to work on specific areas that are going to actually impact upon your ranking. So Google has been caught lying about some of the things that it said it didn't rank for. Whether or not, I mean, people have made it in the chattering classes of the tech industry. Some people have made a lot of that, but Google's always been very careful to sort of not confirm and not deny things, although with one or two of the pieces of content, they had actually said, no, it isn't a ranking factor. Well, it seems that it is. And the reason I said that SEO is dead, long live SEO, is because just because the old school way of doing things is going away doesn't mean that the indexing of the future isn't going to rely on certain elements of the way things were done. I mean, I'm not even talking about Google My Business listings and off-page SEO here. A lot of what was in the leak that I've going to talk to now is very much about on-page SEO and what you can do for your own site, not necessarily about how you're seen in the wider world. Although PageRank, which goes back to like the very start of SEO, web pages were given a page rank. In fact, Google used to release publicly what your website page rank was, and SEO marketers used to climb all over themselves to grow their SEO page rank. and to get a link from a high ranked page. So you can imagine that any news site in the country, so for us in New Zealand, it's going to be the Herald, it might be CNN in America, they'll have a page rank of 9. So if your site has a page rank of 1 and they link to you, you're going to get massive increases. So the digital PR space is going to become more relevant. So if you can get links from, and they have to be organic, because if they're an advertised link by Google decree, it has to have what's called rel no follow as a tag. They're getting too technical. Effectively, it means you can't pay for a link and carry page rank. It has to be an article that's written genuinely. It has to be a partnership that you have with that company genuinely that would give you the value of that link passing through to you. So that's mostly off-page stuff. If we go through sort of the top 6 leak details that I think are relevant, and the next webinar will be a continuation of leak information and some things that you can do to implement. Probably the big one is pretty much that everyone has a blog or article section on their site. That's what I was talking earlier about Nadia Lim, but most people post as admin. So make sure you author your content. So, but just by default, when you create an article page or a blog page on your site, it'll say, you know, who is the person, and you'll just keep admin there because admin will be there by default, and it will post it at 12:0001 a.m. You really want to make sure that it's for you. And you'll see previously, and I wanted to get the answer for this, but I wasn't able to for this particular meeting. So webinar. So hopefully I'll have a few for the next webinar. Do you post as you, or do you post as the company? As we saw in that previous example, Nadia Lim is posting as her. Well, she has the brand. She is the brand. And so maybe that is the way to go. And if it's you that you want to elevate, then it should be posted as you, even if someone else is writing the content. However, there may be the position where you are authoring the content as your company, and your company is the authority. So authorship is a critical piece of the puzzle. Don't ignore it. Smaller sites are not likely to rank well. So that accounts for probably 70% of websites in New Zealand and Australia, where you've got a homepage, you've got an about page, you might have a services product page, and then a contact page, and that's about it. Those websites never going to rank. Someone can go and find it. It will be in the index somewhere, but it's unless they're doing a search specifically for that page, it's not going to change at all. You really need a lot of content on the site. You also need to add content regularly, which obviously corresponds to that previous point that I was making. Don't leave your website stale. So try to embed that process within your organization, within your business, to publish 1 or 2 pieces of content per month. You can also add to existing pages. I mean, I don't know who's doing the work for Nadia Lim. If this person ever sees this video, bravo, because they're doing a great job, because not only are they using all of those key structured data elements and the authorship, but obviously the page was also re-indexed, whether or not that was because they added new details to the recipe or that they were just completing correct search engine hygiene by republishing it. I don't know, but either way, they're doing the right job there. There are good clicks and bad clicks. So what's a good click? A good click is when someone searches for blue pen, and you have a website that says meta description blue pen, meta titles blue pen. They go to the site and it's, here are the blue pens for sale. Great. And that person stays on the site, right? So they don't pogo stick back. They don't bounce back to the web page, the search engine web page. I mean, a bad click would be you search for blue pen and you go to the page and it said blue pen, but actually it takes you to a page about Tonka trucks, right? People are going to immediately go back and they're going to go, well, that's not relevant. This is probably more likely to be the case is if you are trying to domain squat or keyword squat on a competitor. So if you've used some of their naming details in your meta title and your meta description, and they inadvertently, they don't really look at what was being said there. They caught the name that they were searching for initially. They go through to your page and they realize it wasn't what they want and go back to the search page. That'll be treated as a bad click. The more bad clicks you get, the lower you're going to rank in the algorithm. But I think the biggest one, and to be music to the ears of all of the traditional marketers out there, you can influence local SEO rankings with above the line advertising. And this is massive. It suggests that advertising is back, baby. That's right. Print, radio, television, billboard, trade show. We've been talking to our clients about this stuff for years. It has a place. And if you have enough of that localized advertising taking place, there's enough of a hubbub happening about your business in the real world, and people flood the search engine looking for that product, looking for that service, you'll bust out of the way all of the previous SEO ranking that was there before, and you will rank in top spot. That piece of content Google didn't want getting out there, because it shows that maybe digital marketing isn't the great panacea. Maybe it isn't the area that you should be spending all your money. Well, I could have told you that before. It absolutely is not. You want to have a multi-channel, omni-channel advertising approach. But as it said, and I do have a more fuller report, just mindful for time here. I will send this out for our CEO memo, our end of month EDMs. So if you're not subscribed to that, please subscribe, get in touch and subscribe to this, where I talk about the fact that I've lost my place. Actually, I was going to talk about something to do with SEO and the detail around the publishing. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. Apologies. 46 minutes in, I think I'm doing pretty good at this point to keep a coherent stream of consciousness going. Nevertheless, let's go on to the sort of wrapping things up. Apologies for that, people. So there's too much to cover today, so stay tuned for more insights. But in the meantime, Rand Fishkin, this guy here, he is a Google god. He has been around forever. He owned a company called SEO Moz. I believe he sold that. He's established another business. I do forget what that's called, but he's an authority, right? And what he has said here is build a notable, popular, well-recognized brand in your space outside of Google search, e.g. in the real world. Don't rely upon digital to solve your problems. Sign written vehicles, clothing that has, that's presentable, magnets on fridges, the other traditional advertising that I was referring to. That, obviously word of mouth, that's probably the best one that you can get. Referrals. That is what will drive people to the search engine. Oh, I remember my train of thought. It was that Google and SEO used to be a discovery engine, right? So you would go to Google to find out information. Now it's the last leg of the journey. They've already discovered you. They've already heard about you. Then they just go to the search engine to find you, right? So it's moved away from that. If you work on SEO, you're going to get content. You're going to get users, should I say, to your site. And that's a pervasive view. That's what a lot of people that we talk to think. I'm going to do SEO and I'm going to get more business. No, you're not. You can put paid to that. It's not going to happen for you. Don't spend your money on SEO if you think you want more traffic. You should spend SEO if you want to have a professional site that has the likelihood of ranking so that when people do search for you, it looks professional. You should be doing structured data on your site so that you've got the opportunity and the new, blue sky area of AI. Absolutely. But if you're spending money on that white picket fence SEO, just stop. Burn the money. Better yet, spend it on above the line advertising, right? Or come to Wonks and spend it on proper digital advertising. The other comment that I'd make there is from Rand Fishkin. I'm sure you can all read, so I'm not saying anything that you couldn't otherwise see. But for most small and medium businesses and newer content creators, publishers, SEO is likely to show poor returns until you've established credibility, navigational demand, and a strong reputation among a sizable audience. SEO is a big brand, popular domains game, right? So if you are a minnow, should you be putting your resources elsewhere? My recommendation would be yes. And I'll have more to say about that in the next webinar. So what have we covered? Well, actually, the stickiness of this webinar, all of our attendees have been maintained today. So awesome, really glad to see that. And so what I'll do now is hand it over to Josh. Well, I will say, what did we cover? Structured data, AO overviews, essential SEO via Search Console, the Google link. And if you haven't already started working with Wonks, do get in touch for a one-on-one consultation. We'll have a chat to you about that, and we can go from there. So I will hand it over to young Josh, who will make the announcement of the winner of the $500.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we go on to that $500 winner, we do have a question in the Q&A from Angelica. If we use a CMS platform that doesn't include a field for alt tags on the front, would we have to hard code it into the background or ask a developer to?
Yes. Do you, there's a little dot there that tells me, do you know what the content management system is? I do have another graphic. I don't have it on this right now. Again, I'll look to publish it later. There are different content management systems that will have different kind of abilities. Well, BigCommerce should have it. I mean, BigCommerce is big. That's enterprise level. So I would suspect it should be there. It may just be that a feature or a module needs to be enabled. More than happy to have a look at it for you. If you want to set a time, we can have a conversation about that. But yeah, when you say hard code, I mean, by default, they should be there. All of these platforms, all modern content management platforms, will have the ability to do this work. It may require template theming to occur. Probably about 10 years ago, 1 in every 2 websites were like a HTML site built with scripts uploaded via FTP. That was for the real geeks of the world to do, and obviously meant that most people couldn't access building websites. Obviously, with the internet as it is now, content management systems have come to the fore. And so it makes it easy to build a site, or easier to build a site. And so most will have that ability. It may just be that it needs to be enabled or found, things like that. But I'm more than happy to have a different conversation with you. So that's that. Thank you, Josh, for.
No worries. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for that, Jeff. That webinar again in the SEO plane. All of us are constantly learning, and webinar here, Wonks here, we like to stay on the pulse.
Oh, you're cutting out there, but there, Josh.
Ooh, can you?
Actually, I'll just make some closing remarks, Jeff, before Josh does the draw. Oh.
Yes, fire away. You do that. And Josh, do you want to come to my office? Because I don't think you're.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Great presentation as always. Ladies and gentlemen, so the next webinar is on the 31st of July at the usual time of 2 p.m. And as Jeff mentioned, we will be taking a deeper dive into the Google leak and what it means for your digital marketing. So I'm sure that will be of interest to all of you. Registration is quick and easy via our website as usual. If you have any further questions about the presentation today, or you would like to book a time for a no obligation chat to discuss how Wonks can be assistance to your business, please feel free to contact us via the website. A special offer to all of you who have attended today. We will apply a 20% discount on
20%.
20% discount on all new projects signed up before the 31st of July. So that could be anything from a $200 to a $500 saving. And thanks very much for all of you who attended today. We appreciate your support. And I'll go back to Josh now, and he can announce the winner.
That's what they really want. They didn't want all that content and carry on. They're here for this.
Well, thank you all for coming along. And now for the $500 giveaway. And today's lucky winner from our participants today is Gavin Kennedy.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh.
Congratulations, Gav.
Well done, well done. We will
Good
be
one,
in
Gavin.
touch shortly.
That'll come in
after this.
handy.
Definitely, definitely.
Rock and roll. Hey, thank you to everyone for taking the time out today to listen to me live. For anyone who's watching this after action, again, thank you to you too. Do look out for the next webinar where I'll dig a little bit further into the detail and hopefully have a few more answers to questions that may come. But again, have a wonderful July, and I'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.